Yasmina Ellins, welcome to the Fieldswell Podcast.
It is my pleasure to be here, Lauren.
I'm so excited. I was saying, I felt really connected to you and like we really hit it off on our intro call. We were talking about heart-centered relationships, and I really, truly have been looking forward to having you on ever since.
That's awesome. And I'm so excited for us to build our heart-centered relationship and also start a band called Blondies with Bookcases.
Yes, look at our backgrounds. We're both in what I think are turtlenecks. Is yours a turtleneck? We're
Actually,
blonde.
it is, yeah. I was going to have a black one, but it's red. Damn, we would have been even more matching.
We would have been twins, and we both have a bookshelf behind us, so we're vibing.
Absolutely.
You've lived a fascinating life, from studying at Cambridge to speaking what I believe 10 languages.
I've learned 10. I wouldn't say I speak 10 fluent. I speak about 5 fluently, but I've learned a lot.
Learned a lot of languages. You've given a TEDx talk. You've hosted a podcast. I've seen photos of you hanging with Sir Richard Branson on his private Necker Island. Reading your bio, I feel like doesn't quite do you justice. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself to give our listeners context on what led you to pioneer this exponential relationships movement?
Well, that's a great question. And I would say the universe dropped a lot of breadcrumbs that I couldn't ignore that led me onto this path. Starting with being a super shy kid and you know, how there's a big saying that your biggest mess becomes your biggest message, or your biggest pain helps you come into your biggest impact of helping the world. And that's really how I felt as a teenager. You know, I was in pain. And the reason I was in pain is because I would come into school every day and I would be around all of these people, but feel completely alone and feel like no one understood me and feel like I didn't fit in. And I would sit in my friend group where I didn't even feel like I fit in with them. And I'd always be on the edge of the conversation. I'd have people turn their backs to me. I'd have people talk over me. And I would sit there and I'd look at the popular kids who are like going, having all the parties and doing all the fun stuff. And I'd look at them and I would think, why do people want to talk to them, but no one wants to talk to me? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why don't I matter? And I felt like everyone had got some manual on how to human, and mine got lost in the post. I was like, where's my how to human manual? Where's my Hogwarts letter?
I'm envisioning myself, because I too, I grew up only child and kind of shy in school. And I want to continue back on your story, and we'll tie in how like it's interesting how both of us now have kind of like realized it's a strength you can build.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't know that social skills was something that you could master and learn. I always thought that it was like a tech skill, right? Like coding.
Yeah.
I never realized, I thought that it was something that people were born with. Oh, why is everyone like that guy? Oh, he's just born with the charisma gene. I thought that it was some kind of a gene or something, and that I was just never going to be that way. And what really changed is when I turned 16, I hit this breaking point. I was like, I no longer want to feel this way. I no longer want to feel like, okay, I'm tried all these things to impress people and make friends, like learning the Rubik's Cube, becoming a magician, all these super wacky, nerdy things.
Yeah.
And none of these things were working. And I was still coming in every day feeling alone while completely surrounded by people. And so I went to Google, as you do, and I typed in how to get charisma. There must be some way. And I went down all these rabbit holes. I discovered podcasts. I started listening to them on how to do, how to connect with people, learning about human psychology and social skills and charisma, all that kind of fun stuff. And then soon I discovered personal development, and I'm like, wow, like I don't have to be the loser me. I can be the hero me, and I can, all these great things. And so I slowly but surely started to develop some of these skills, and it started super simple, like, oh, how do you have eye contact? And I was that kid that always looked at the floor with my shoulders slouched, and I wouldn't look people in the eye. I was super awkward about it. And I just taught myself how to have eye contact, or how to, walk with my shoulders back, like super simple stuff. Sometimes when you're learning a new skill, you start on one end of the pendulum and then you swing to the opposite end of the pendulum, and then you kind of come back into the middle. So I definitely swung to the opposite end of the pendulum once. And I remember I was in a mock interview at school for something. And the interviewer was like, this is great, but your hands are moving a bit like a windmill.
Yeah, you like overdid it. You're like, I'm like mastering all of these skills.
Yeah. I was like, gesticulation is important.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just like to think I was passionate.
Yeah.
But so I started to develop those, you know, and then I did get my actual Hogwarts letter eventually and went to Cambridge and learned languages and, you know, met some nice people and made some friends. And then I came back from my year abroad. I was half a year in Paris, half a year in Italy. Great time. I came back into a finance internship. That's like, you know, quote unquote, the path that someone's supposed to go if they're like really smart and get good grades, which I was.
Yeah.
And I just remember being in this like prestigious finance internship in the city of London, and everyone's telling me, congratulations, Yasmina, you've made it. You're on the ladder. And I would again come into an environment every single day and feel like, oh my God, I feel like everyone's coming in going, thank God it's Friday, you know, like I can't wait till Friday. And, you know, really smart people who went to top universities. And I felt like it was a place of lost dreams. I felt no purpose in what I was doing. I was terrible at it as well, I'll be honest. and you know, I remember my colleague next to me saying, oh, you know, like, I said, what would you do if you weren't here? She says, you know, oh, I think I can't remember, it was like, I'd be an interior designer or I'd be an art curator or something like that. I was like, that's amazing. Why aren't you doing that? And she said, well, I like money. And I just found that so sad that people are sacrificing, you know, what their desires, what they want, their authentic self to spend hours and hours and hours slaving away for money to spend of the short time period they have left outside of that. And so that was another turning point where I was like, you know what? I don't want this life. I can't do this. And so I decided, I'd heard about entrepreneurship. I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to make an impact in people's lives. I wanted to live a life of passion and vitality every single day. And I thought, well, how am I going to learn about entrepreneurship? There's so much going on. Like, how do I even know where to start? And so I was like, well, the best way to do that is if I need to meet as many entrepreneurs as possible and learn from them. And then I was thinking, well, why are they going to want to talk to me? I'm just a student. What value could I possibly have to offer? And so I started a podcast. Great tool, Lauren, as an excuse to chat with whoever I wanted to. And, you know, through that, I started meeting some of the most incredible people. And soon I'm getting introduced to 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs who want to be in my show. And at the time I was like, that's so cool. And then I've got people like the founder of Reebok on my show, who I'm now in a book with several years later. But like really great stuff. And I soon learned that. And also I was making great friends, you know, friends that I visit, that I traveled the world with. So it was deeper than that. And I realized like, wow, I'm really good at relationship building now because I spent all this time obsessing like a total nerd trying to develop this skill. And so I started teaching other people how to build, you know, win-win relationships with some of the giants in their industry in a way that was genuine. And I didn't get them any contacts. I just said, hey, here's how you show up. And they'd come back to me and they'd be like, oh my God, Yaz, you're not going to believe it. I go, what? They go, I have an Oscar award-winning film director who's my personal film mentor. And now we're making out like my dream documentary on innovation with people like the founder of Shazam. And I'm like, that's so cool. Or like, thanks, Yaz. My team like learned what you said about cold outreach, and we managed to reach the chief of defense of our country, who's the second most requested speaker next to the prime minister, to speak at our event. And then they created a super magical moment for their really good friend who was coordinating the event on stage, where the chief of defense was gifting him flowers on stage in front of the Navy. And that was the highest honor if you're in the Navy, to have that, to create such a special moment, right? And so I started creating those opportunities for people through teaching them this skill of what now I call it exponential relationships. And I later ended up on a journey of being invited to take over this community of 6, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs under 30 who are doing super impactful things in the world. And I was super honored. I was like, yeah, I'm going to take it on. However, at the time, the community was unfortunately failing. It was at the lowest point ever. And I was like, you know what? I can do it. I can turn it around. And so I went on a journey traveling the world for a year to try, like, where am I going to meet these really successful entrepreneurs who are in their 20s? And I ended up in a bunch of crazy rooms, like, you know, Andrea Bocelli's family farmhouse, masterminding with Deepak Chopra and the Chopra Foundation CEO, and living with my $50 million mentor in Santa Monica for a month, who I met off Zoom, who I remember on the second week of being there with her, we were at dinner and I said, hey, so like, what do you actually know about me? And she's like looking at me and she goes, not much. And I was invited to the first Royal Ball to take place in France as the French Revolution, VIP for free by the chairwoman. And she sat me next to a handsome prince, which I don't know, like that was wild.
And the list goes on. I'm blown away. Like, sign me up. Do you have a framework? Do you have steps that we take? Talk us through your process.
I do. And before I talk about that, I would love to mention, these experiences might sound wild and crazy, but at the time, it was cool, but some of it was missing some depth. And here's why. And people tend to focus on the things that look cool as opposed to what feels good. And a big turning point for me was when I ended up connecting with this superconnector in LA who had this like dream, like Andrew Tate lifestyle, hot model girlfriend, like all these VIP invites, yacht parties, billionaires, celebrities, all kinds of great people on his Rolodex. Mm-hmm. And we were spending hours just kind of breaking down how he built his network, just hanging out in Beverly Hills. And he was really breaking it down. He's very, very smart. But what I noticed is that I wouldn't trust this guy as far as I could throw him. And what I also noticed is that there was a point where he said, when I got cancer, I lost my network. And to me, I was like, I found that so heartbreaking because he spent all this time being, learning about influence and persuasion and, human psychology and being super strategic and spending all this time playing a chess game to, sure, make more money, have experiences that look cool, that you can brag about, get clients, whatever.
Yeah.
But like the important stuff, when he really needed people to show up for him, everyone disappeared. Mm-hmm. And that's not the kind of life that we want to be building. We want to make sure that we're being genuine and not just building transactional relationships. And so it was a really big point for me because I realized while I was generally building genuine relationships, mm-hmm. I still hadn't fully developed like the full feeling of how can I just create a life that's beautiful and just be around relationships that fully serve that vision, that no matter who someone is, what their status is, what their title is, what their bank account has, mm-hmm. whatever access they have, if I don't genuinely like them and genuinely want to connect with them and I just see them as a means to an end for me, that's not a genuine relationship. That doesn't feel good for me. And that doesn't feel good for the other person because, right. people can smell it on you.
Yeah, 100%.
And, I'm not knocking transactional networking. There's certainly a place for it, Mm-hmm. And, I think there's elements in most of our lives that have some transactional element in interactions, which is totally okay. But I just wanted to shed light on that because I think that's really one of the biggest things that I've learned. Yeah. So in terms of frameworks or steps, I mean, there's so much to this. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. But I think one of the biggest things is truly being unapologetically yourself. And truly owning yourself, truly being okay with yourself and okay expressing that. And it might sound super simple, like, oh, be yourself, Yasmina. Everyone says that. What does that mean? It's like the thing is, your mother usually says, like, oh, be yourself, darling, and everything will work out for you. Which is simultaneously the best advice in the world and the worst advice in the world. It's great advice because yes, it's true, but it's terrible advice because most people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
So to really fully be able to unapologetically express yourself, you need to do a deep dive within yourself and get to know yourself, date yourself, understand yourself. What lights me up? What am I passionate about? What do I love? What do I hate? What's my view of the world? What are my morals? Like, what kind of life do I want to live? What do I want my health to look like? What do I love doing for that? What do I want my relationships to look like? What do I want my career to look like? What lights me the frick up?
Yeah. What's coming to me is like the basis for being able to form heart-centered exponential relationships with others is starting with having that relationship with yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I have a friend, she's called Jennifer Hill. She's an amazing superconnector, and she talks about how her mission is to connect people to themselves, others, and their purpose. And she talks about the golden triangle of connection. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And, you know, all of those relationships are so important, because if you're not connected to yourself, you cannot be connected to others meaningfully. You can only go as deep with others as you've gone with yourself. And if you're also not meaningfully connected to your purpose, then you're not going to have a reason to get out of bed, or a purpose. It doesn't need to be just one purpose. You know, and then you're not going to be able to meaningfully connect with others as deeply. So I think, like, when it really comes to building relationships, that's a key piece. And then it's being okay with expressing what you believe and your opinions, no matter what other people think. Because there are going to be, you know, there are going to be people that really resonate with you and freaking love you and are going to go balls to the wall for you.
Yes.
And then there are going to be some people that just hate you and they're going to want to throw you in a dumpster fire. And that's totally fine, because that's how the world works, you know. And I would love for us to spiritually evolve as humanity to a place where we can all choose to love each other all the time, every day, no matter who someone is. And I do work on that within myself. However, being okay with people not liking you, being okay with people disagreeing with you, because, you know, at the end of the day, I would much rather be loved for who I am than be liked or tolerated for who I pretend to be.
100%. I recently read Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory, and she said we spend so much time worrying about what other people will think of us. When you think about it, like, you think not the best thoughts about people you love dearly, and you still love them. Like your family or your friends, people can be annoying. It's just humanity. Sometimes we're difficult to be around, and that's okay. And so stop caring about the people you don't even know and what they're going to think of you when you're naturally just yourself. It's the best thing we can do. We know authenticity vibrates at the highest vibration. And that's when you're really going to find your people and attract your tribe, is when you start just showing up as who you are. But again, to your point, it starts with knowing who you are. What are you about? What are your values? What are your opinions? And have an opinion, have a stance. That's what makes you interesting and different.
Absolutely. And if you don't express that, and if you water yourself down, you don't realize how much of a disservice you're doing to other people that would have loved to connect with you. Imagine you're at an event, you're in a room, and you think, oh no, I wonder what people will think of me. Okay, so I'm not going to speak as boldly as I would otherwise, because maybe people are going to judge me. So maybe you hold back an opinion, a belief, a worldview, something that you're excited about. And then someone else, that one person that would have really loved and connected with you at that event, maybe you even spoke to that person, and, you know, you're going home, you're thinking, damn, why didn't I really connect or resonate with anyone? Oh, so how am I going to find my people? That other person that you spoke to is going home thinking, damn, you know, I wish there was someone that I could have really connected with. And they're going home wondering that, and it could have been you, because it was you, but you didn't show them you.
And it can be you when you start standing up for yourself and sharing your vision, your message with the world. You never know who needs to hear it. There are people waiting to hear exactly what you have to say or do.
Absolutely.
I've heard you talk about the 3 doors that you believe will get you anything in life. Are those relevant, those 3 doors relevant in relation to, you know, this exponential relationship movement?
What are the 3 doors? Where did I talk about that?
Mentors, friends that elevate you, and gatekeepers to opportunities.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I totally forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. Absolutely. All those 3 doors are fantastic. And the first step is to do it from a heart-centered place. The second step is, you know, we need friends, that we need a circle around us that sees the greatness in us. They might even see greatness in us that we don't see within ourselves. They want to pour into us. They want to elevate us. They want to help us. They want to support us. They want to see us rise. All of that comes from building relationships from a place of authenticity and love. And you would do the same for them, because you love who they are. And then we need mentors, people who've walked the path before us,
Yeah.
people who are 2 steps or 10 steps ahead of us. It doesn't matter. In whatever area of life, any area that you want to master, you need people who are ahead of you. When you have mentors, they can shortcut years off your life.
Years. It's a shortcut.
Years.
Yeah.
A 2-minute conversation with someone who's a little bit ahead of you, or even a lot ahead of you, could shave 10 years off your life. I've had those conversations where it's like one insight from the right person. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
frick.
And you can find this insight from podcasts, from reading an autobiography, or watching a docu-series. You know, it doesn't have to be from meeting with this person like live. You know, you can find these mentors in books, in podcasts, in films.
Absolutely.
Don't think you have to meet like your biggest mentor tomorrow to get insight and to level up your life.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, when I didn't have any mentors for many years. My mentors were books and podcasts and articles and people that I looked up to. You know, I was obsessed with Tim Ferriss's stuff, you know.
What is it, 4 Bullet
back in-
Friday or 5 Bullet Friday?
yeah, I think I'm
His
actually still subscribed to that.
newsletter.
Yeah, but you know, if you do want to connect with someone in person who's able to talk to you about your situation and help you out specifically, there are ways to do that. And the number one way to do that is to be a good mentee. Because people who have success in an area, you know, at some point money's not going to really fulfill someone. It's not going to fill their heart and soul. It's going to help them, you know, feel good in terms of their lifestyle and to have their needs met, to have their family taken care of, and to maybe use that money to make a big impact in the world, to fund things or whatever. But like what really fills people's hearts and soul is the relationships they have and the impact that they get to make. So many people are craving mentees, people who've walked the path, especially, you know, wealthy people. They don't care about money anymore. They have money. Now they think about impact, connection, enjoyment of life. But the reason people shoot themselves in the foot is they're not a good mentee. So imagine, have you ever had it where you're speaking to a friend and they're asking you for advice on a situation? Maybe it's, oh, should I break up with my boyfriend? Or, you know, I want to stop this bad habit. You know, I'm eating too much junk food, whatever. And you have the keys. You've solved this problem for yourself. You know what to do. And you're like, honey boo boo, I got you. And you're so excited to tell them what to do. And so you give them all the advice. You like pour into them. Hey, you got this. I believe in you. And then they're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Right. You're so emotionally invested and now attached to solving their problem or what they're presenting you with, and they don't do anything about it.
Yeah. And then how do you feel? You're just like, why would I bother to share more with you? You haven't even done this. I told you the steps, you haven't done it. So, you know, the best way to be a good mentee is to do what the mentor tells you to do, right? And to show them that you've done it, and to be a joy to mentee, to fully receive, like, oh my God, wow, I didn't realize that. Thank you so much. It's amazing. To apply it, to even go over and above and beyond, and come back to them, be like, hey, oh my God, I applied this thing that you said, and here's how it changed my life, and here's how it had an influence on me, and this amazing thing happened. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, how are they going to feel? They're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want this feeling again. So I need to tell them more the next steps.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask for help. People like to help you. They feel good helping you. Many of your mentors have probably already laid out a path, whether it's through a blueprint, a book, or podcast, for the exact journey and steps they took to get where they are. Follow the path. You know, we worry so much about copying other people. No one is you. You'll bring your own unique spin and like design to whatever it is that you're doing. There are steps laid out for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are so many people. Can you imagine there are people that pour decades of their wisdom into a $10 book?
Yeah. Right.
Everything that they know in a $10 book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
I
want to talk about like creating opportunities. Three of the things, and I've heard you touch on them, that have made a big difference for me. Number one, these are in no specific order, going to events around me, such as like thought leader conferences where I can meet like-minded individuals, where I could meet potential mentors. Number two, showing up online, and whether that be like, for example, we started a podcast, hosting other people, sharing snippets from the podcast, connecting we have so many different social media channels. And number three, tuning into those who are already in your sphere of influence, already in your community, and being of service to them, providing value. Start with what you have, be grateful for what you have, start there, and then grow it, as opposed to sitting like, how do I find opportunities? How do I meet people? How do I make deep connections? Like, start now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there are so many, I think, everything that you said there is fantastic. And you can meet people and you can find people interesting and you can like them, and then you want them to stay in your world.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you
Yeah.
take someone from just a loose connection to
Mm-hmm.
staying in your world? Well, bringing them into your world, well, building community, invite them to a dinner of other like-minded, like-hearted people,
Mm-hmm.
where they can connect with those people. I just do casual dinner pods in London all the time. I bring people from my network together, like all kinds of parts of my network. If I meet someone out and about, I'll be like, hey, I'm doing dinner, come join.
Yeah.
And people get so excited because I had someone come to a dinner of mine a few weeks ago, and she's like, wow, I've really been looking for community like this. Like, I walked away and my heart was full, and I woke up the next day and I was so energized. Thanks, Yasmina, for bringing these beautiful people together.
Yeah.
And then people from those days, they become friends with each other, and they go into business together. I've had people start dating each other, And who do they attribute all of that goodness that they got in their life to? They attribute it to you.
Yeah.
You become a leader. You've created something of service. You've created something of value in their emotional bank account. So then they feel good things about you. They think good things about you. And so when you want something, or you're working on something, you want some help from them, they're so happy to do it because of you've created something for them. You've been of service to them. And that's a beautiful thing.
I love it. I'm smiling. I sent out an email to my mailing list. I'm opening a brick and mortar Fieldswell for my coaching business, and where we will record the podcast in San Diego. And I sent out an event for an open house for people to come through, see this space. And I'm like, I'm so excited for all of those people to meet one another. And I realized the power of events, the power of, again, for our listeners, like, maybe you don't have the means to throw a huge event right now, but maybe who can you text? Maybe you can plan a little get together where you guys like go on a nature walk, or you host a luncheon, or like whatever it may be. But who can you reach out to right now to show them you care about them, or to connect a larger group of people?
I love what you just said. Who can you reach out to right now to show you that you care about them? You wouldn't believe the amount of magic that can come into your life from a genuine thank you message. Actually, I would encourage you, and I would invite you right now to look at your phone and to scroll through your contacts and to find one person. I recommend doing it for more people. Find at least one person where they've had some kind of an impact in your life. It could be big, it could be small, it could just be like that you like them, they're great, whatever. And send them a voice message or a video message, not a text message, something where they can hear you and feel you. The higher touch, the better. And express to them, hey, I just thought about you because blah, 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 or you just popped into my mind. Wow, I just want to say I'm so grateful to have you in my life. You might not realize the influence that you've had in my life, or on my business, or on this, or on that. And people come back to you, they'd be like, wow, thank you so much,
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, oh, wait, actually, why don't we catch up? And then you catch up, and then it's like, oh, wait, I have an opportunity for you, actually. Right?
Yes.
Like, a thank you message can be a doorway to so many interesting opportunities because you're top of mind, and you're top of mind in a really positive way.
And it goes even further beyond that. Like, when you reach out to someone and let them know how much they mean to you, as Yasmina said, like ideally by a voice note, or maybe you have a photo of the two of you together and you can say, just thinking of you, you matter to me. That completely changes their day. They're going to go on and positively impact the next person they interact with. and on and on and on. And it creates a ripple effect through the world. And it all starts with you. So, perhaps look at your situation and your life and say, am I waiting? Am I waiting for people to reach out to me? Am I waiting for opportunities? And instead realize you can create all of that for yourself.
Absolutely. And, we live in a world where we're more connected than ever technologically and globally, but more disconnected than ever. Like we used to we used to live in villages and tribes and community and support our neighbor, and like now you walk through a city, no one cares about their neighbor. I saw my neighbor sitting alone in a wheelchair out in the dark the other day, and like I think many people have just walked past him, and I just like, hey, are you okay? Like, is everything okay? Like, can we care for our neighbor? And so many people don't know that they matter. Like they don't, no one's told them that they matter. No one's told them that they're loved, right? Be that person.
I was watching this docuseries on the blue zones. There's a Netflix docuseries on the different blue zones, which are the areas of the world where people live the longest. And it was this one community in Japan, and what they were highlighting is how this community, like they're always getting together all the time, having these dinners, dancing with one another. And these individuals are like 90, 100 years old, in great health, living together. And it's just highlighting the power of community and taking care of one another. We're all part of the same human species.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yasmina, yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say, if you want people to be there for you when you're at your lowest, be there for them when they're at their lowest. Be the I think, who did I hear talk about this? I think it was someone called Radha Agrawal. She talks about the fuck yeah friend. Be a fuck yeah friend.
I want you in my circle, okay? I want to hear more like talking legacy. What's your vision going forward for everything you're working on, creating this exponential relationships movement?
I want to create a world where everyone feels connected to themselves and to others. Everyone is living from their heart, and no one feels isolated. No one feels lonely. Everyone feels that they have someone that they can call on, and everyone feels that they have a tribe of people that's going to go, like invest in them as a person, not financially, but like emotionally, if they want to financially, to help them rise, to help them step into their greatest potential. When I talk about exponential relationships, what that means to me is relationships that you build from the heart, from genuinely wanting to connect with a person, from similar values, and then with those people that you attract, helping each other step into your greatest potential. I feel like so many people are leaving so much of their potential on the table, and you feel so great when you step into the potential of what you're capable of doing or capable of creating. Maybe you have a dream, and I truly believe that you're one relationship away from your life changing forever, and that the right people can help you achieve your dreams.
100%.
And I want people to achieve their dreams. I want people to be living their best lives. I want people to be making an impact in the world through their work. And I truly believe that one of the biggest keys to do that is having the right loving relationships in your life.
It's so true. So many of us think we have to do it all alone. Like we have to build in silence and secret and like not share with anyone what we're doing until it like completely is finished. I think the podcast has opened me up a lot, and I've started to feel more comfortable sharing what I'm working on, because you would be blown away with the amount of people who have shown up being like, how can I help? Have you thought of this? Like, do you need this? And I'm just like, wow, we're all really like, when you make people feel included in your vision, magic happens. And we're so much stronger together than we are alone.
That's so beautiful. It reminds me of the saying that behind every great man is a great woman, right? You talk about many people that do great things in the world, and they say, I couldn't have done it without my partner. I couldn't have done it without my spouse who believed in me every single day and who was there for me. And to have that, and also to have friends and people and allies and business partners and mentors that also pour into you, in such a deep, meaningful way is so beautiful. And I love what you also just said about your vision. You know, I talk about vision-based relationship building. The most successful people, they build relationships based on a vision. They share their vision, they enroll people into that vision because people get excited about that vision and they think, hey, how can we make that vision happen? How can I support you to make that vision happen? Right. And so, you know, instead of going to an event and be like, well, what do you do? Oh, I do X, Y, Z, which, you know, who wants to hear that? Or share your vision.
Yeah. Or I'm building this, but I don't want to talk about it yet because it's not like open or finished. Do you know what I mean? Like, you never know what insight could help you get to the next step.
I find it so interesting. I mean, I honestly think the worst place to go to meet anyone great is a networking event, because it's filled with people that want something from you and are there to transactionally network. But, you know, I have been at some of these events in the past many years ago. And like, I remember coming, you know, oh, you know, I'm working on something, but it's super secret. And I'd be like, okay, well then
boring.
People think that their idea is so powerful that someone else is going to want to steal it.
And we're going to steal their idea. Yeah.
I really want to come away from this mindset of competition in the world. How can we come to a place of collaboration? How can we lift each other higher? If I don't know what you're working on, then I don't know how I can help you. And if you're, you know, if you want to be kind of like braggy and like have some ego sense of like your big secret, or you're just worried, you're concerned, right? Someone's going to steal my idea. Well, you know, probably no one's going to steal your idea. Probably no one's going to implement it to the level that they are. And, you know, if they do take your idea, who cares?
Yeah. They're not
the world is abundant enough for everyone to have a piece of the pie.
Yeah. 100%. Yasmina, as we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
I think that the biggest thing is the more that you can drop away from the mind and into the heart, the more that you're able to see your humanity and the humanity of other people, to really see, love, trust, you know, people for who they are, and then follow the passion of your heart in life, follow the passion of your heart of who you really feel genuinely connected to you. Just follow that thread. The more that you are in your heart, the more magic that can happen for you. I truly, truly believe that. And there is science behind that.
Again, to move from what's in it for me to instead, like, how can I make a heart-centered connection?
Absolutely. Yeah. And believe me, the more that you step into that way of being and that way of feeling, the more will come to you than you could have possibly conceived. Otherwise.
Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on Instagram at my name, Yasmina Ellins. I also have a website, www.yasminaellins.com. And yeah, those are two good places to start. Also on LinkedIn.
You can watch her TEDx talk. You can listen to some of her podcast episodes. Yasmina, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it and wish you the very best going forward.
My pleasure, Lauren. Thank you for having me.